His other works are published, and the authorities perceived a threat, and his house was raided, and they were collected by the authorities. He witnessed three different kinds of administrations: absolute monarchy, the first and second constitutional monarchies, and the republic. The invasions of the house due to the palace of suspicion crowd around him caused him to open his lodge and teachings and a training place. So he named his dargah after his mother's name and called the place Kenan's mother. His resources are the Quran and the Prophet. In his lodge, he performed Quran commentaries, sohbats, discourses, zikr ceremonies, and the works of Ibn Arabi, Rumi, Niazi Musri, and Yunus Emre. When the revolution of the Republic banned the Sufi lodges in 1925, he locked the door of his lodge without any hesitancy or resistance. And his visionary statement about this ban lays out the foundation of our period. From now on, he said, on the lodge is under the sky, and I will be teaching and continuing to train in the academia in the classes filled with both men and women. I will even teach them different things. About the ban of closing the lodges, he stated, before we were the instrument in the external lodge, we were busy with the zikr of Allah. Now we are in the lodge of the heart with the illuminated heart. Allah wanted so and did so. Since all happens from Him, all is nice. Now the body is the lodge, and the illuminated heart is filled with the divine light of beauty. This is what he said. When his renowned disciple Samiha Ayverdi's works began to be published by 1938, her Murshid Kenan Rifai stated, Dear Samiha, she reopened my lodge by her books. This proves how his teachings are free of place and location, and he continues doing his teachings. In 2009, as a blessing from Allah, I witnessed in the North Carolina of the United States, in the first state university of the United States, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, that was a chair was founded on Kenan Rifai's Islamic studies, and another one followed in China, and in this regard, Umit Safi here provided valuable information. On his commentary on Masnavi, this big volume was created by Dr. Victoria Holbrook, and this became famous in the United States, and by the prestigious publication house Fons Vitae in 2001. Many professors who use this book as a textbook, and myself, I used this book as a textbook myself, and my students learned a lot from it. The positivist dichotomy between East and West, he transcends this dichotomy, and recreation of the Silk Road between East and West. He says the sky is being revived. His first murshid is his mother, Hatice Cenan Valide Sultan. She trained and prepared her son by her famous statement, "You will love people, for within you there are infinite treasures of forgiveness, mercy, and indulgence. Therefore, you'll not only love humans, but all of creation with the same untiring speed and infinite fervor. You must spend the gems in you bounteously. You must love humans by having them share with each other, and by being together with them, in both their mistakes and their good deeds. You must be of them to such extent that you increase with their births and decrease with their deaths. Your duty as a human is to turn people's faces towards a common, sincere goal, an ideal, and there are many ways to do this. But the shortest and the best way is the path of love and faith. A limitless love of humanity. Human nature's only door to peace is always this. Humans can only reach maturity, perfection, from human nature to divinity, in short, reach Allah only and only with this path. Adham Shah of Filibe is the murshid of both Hatice Cenan Sultan and Kenan Rifai, who prepared Kenan Rifai for this future duties when he was appointed to Balıkesir. And Adham Shah of Filibe is not a traditional sheikh of a tariqa, and he was not interested in them. In the Kubelta dictionary of İlhan Ayverdi, the term murshid is defined as the guide, leader, and the example for his disciples who are on the path of truth and reality, who enlightens and guides them. Sheikh. And the great murshid is the Prophet. The perfected murshid or the knowing murshid are those who spiritually inherited the reality of the Prophet, the truth from the Prophet, Insan al-Kamil. The term murabbi is described as the one who trains, educates, and in Tasawwuf, murabbi is the murshid. I'm explaining this specifically for the young audience here. Kenan Rifai explained the reasons of coming to this world in the following quote. In the pre-eternity, before we were created, we each had a bowl in our hands. But while coming here, our bowls were taken and we were told, go and seek. So we are on the path of searching, and we came to this world to search ourselves. We would be finding Allah when we find ourselves. Kenan Rifai's training and teaching methods can be collected under two main titles: teaching by living and teaching with love. One day he asked to his disciples, children, am I gossiping? If I gossip, you also gossip. Am I lying? If I do, so you do. Am I breaking hearts? If I am breaking hearts, go ahead and you break hearts too. Am I holding a grudge? Am I in arrogance or jealousy? If I do these, you are permitted to do so. But if you know me as your teacher, isn't it denying my spiritual rights over you when you act by any trait that I don't have? We can find the answers to the questions, and these questions are answers to what kind of people we want. His disciples reported that his perspective was, since the doer is the truth, then everyone is only a means in his command. They wrote his statement, I'd like to hold the hand of those with good deeds and wish to help those who fall. And Azize had told that. About their teacher, Samiha Ayverdi and Nezihe Araz, he's an entrepreneur and determined. He acts speedily from a shortcut with an unseen effort and seriousness to realize a determined goal. Before concluding, he would not be relieved. However, when certain obstacles occur repeatedly in one of his attempted tasks, then he would interpret it as a sign and does not insist and abandons it by saying, because there is nothing other than the truth, and it is the truth which appears from the creation. Allah's revelatory means are endless. This is how he gives up. Again, Samiha Ayverdi and Nezihe Araz quote from their teacher, do not remain stuck at the point wherever you are. Advance. Advance however much you can. Do not let your life simply be an advancement to the grave. Walk, always walk. Only Allah knows if the death will catch you on the path. At least let it not be when you stop. And there is a verse in Quran that Allah is always in some kind of occurrence. Kenan Rifai says, as long as I shall live, I either learn a thing or I shall teach a thing. Don't keep information to yourself. Be jealous of teaching and don't be negligent of learning. The person who hides knowledge to himself is a shame for humankind. Learn and teach. Now, I'd like to, based on his teaching, let's read it from his own expressions. Don't be proud of your knowledge, because just like everything else that is gained in this world, no knowledge would be taken away from you in a day. Why are you offended and upset? Why are you hating as if you experienced animosity? Abandon turning around your egotistical desires and addictions like the polytheist worshipping and turning around their idols. Don't be tied up to those with love and that should be shown to the eternals and praise more than their value and be keen. For this, in a hadith al-sharif, the Prophet said, work for this world for as long as you will remain here, work for hell however much fire you can handle. Again, Kenan Rifai, care about setting examples to bring people near to Allah, not to alienate them. The issues of Islam are not the empty and narrow thoughts that would not be valued. For example, you come across a person who's filled with materialistic information, but his spiritual world is completely empty and he is spiritually untrained. To save this man who is spiritually ignorant and to wake him up from aberration and heedlessness, it is necessary to first be level in enlightening him and to not look down upon his knowledge. On the contrary, show him respect and even encourage them to advance in their knowledge. Is it not the Prophet Muhammad who stated, work for this world as if you will never die and work for the hereafter as if you will die immediately? Is it not the Prophet who also commanded, seeking knowledge is obligatory for both women and men? If those who work for the advancement and unification of Islam do not say to those around them, embrace materialistic knowledge and conduct as much as spiritual knowledge, they are responsible and sinners. Today, while humankind is creating wonders in the material world, how shameful it is for a Muslim to be ignorant of those and leaving the discoveries, findings, and various teachings and intellectual activities to the others. Was it like this among the Muslims? Now, we have also started to have more people filled with materialistic knowledge, and among them there are those who are not content only with material, whose diplomas do not satisfy their inner emptiness. Is it fair to extinguish this person's need, hope, and excitement with empty and strict behaviors when all they wish for is to have a spiritual capital for their spirit's climate? The one who is in the lead by claiming to be the guide, when they look at the seeker and frown, saying, what kind of clothing is this? Take off these narrow pants. Wear a larger one. Wear properly like in the time of Prophet. Be with beautiful manners. Do not go to cinemas or theaters. Don't send your family as well. Don't even consider to wear gold on your teeth. In such ignorant and unsupported words, rejecting the seeker even before reaching the gate of the spiritual world that he is thirsting for is not a betrayal of the spiritual of Islam. Why emphasize wearing clothes according to Prophet's time, but not live according to the conduct of the Prophet? The measurement of the conduct is not clothing; it is the unity. Turbans, baggy pants, these would not take anyone to the heaven of heart. However, the conduct of Muhammad opens the gates of order and peace for both worlds, because the Prophet came to humankind to complete the beautiful conduct and to be emanated and taught. He was not sent to discipline the clothing. Sadly, this is not known by mullahs, and they call these who know infidels. The Prophet states, Allah looks at your hearts, not at your faces. Therefore, the task is to have the pure heart. If you have taken on the responsibility of being a teacher, a guide, don't be ignorant of those who come to learn from you. You shouldn't be aware of their worldly knowledge. Be with such capital. Be like the Sulaiman who knew every bird's language, because your duty is not to distance but to bring closer. Things that do not change in Islam are fundamentals, not the details. Teach human maturity to people you face and show this with your behavior as well. In fact, unity is the summit the last step of this excellence. The goal and the result of beautiful conduct is the correctness of intentions, which directs human beings to think of not only themselves but also others, and to realize the goal of creation by working for the benefit of human beings. One of his students, Sophia Erol, says, my teacher Kenan Rifai used to say, it is harder to remove a bad habit than to flatten mountains. For this reason, my teacher followed the system of endowing good habits to his students. He would inject the good habits frequently so that there would be no place for bad habits. When the abundance of these good habits covers the foundation, bad habit situation worsens, becomes in fact impossible. One of the principles my teacher infused persistently was to do the things that needed to be done on time and in the manner in which they should be done, and to avoid the things that must not be done. A student he saved from negativity would not just stay in the neutrality, harmless and meaningless. She or he would immediately start doing good deeds. My teacher, Kenan Rifai, spread the manner of being vigilant to life's daily disciplines. For those who do not respect time, he said, about those who do not respect the time, he said, some people are not bound with time. They do not adjust their time and responsibilities to each other. They reach the port and realize that the ferry has already gone. That's perhaps the last ferry. Those who waste time in heedlessness and miss the last ferry for opportunity are in disappointment. It is all right if there's another ferry scheduled. The short-sighted traveler has had a narrow escape after a troublesome wait. But what if it is the last one? There is no cure for that. Sophia Erol also describes her murshid as in the following lines. The murabbi, or trainer or educator, whom we call murshid with the religious nature, does not force us externally. They reside at the mihrab of our personality. We don't receive the murshid's voice externally. Murshid speaks from inside our spirit. We realize our lives to the extent that we listen to our murshid. If and when we don't listen to this, we know that this act is only to paralyze ourselves. How does that happen? How did we not see other people as better than us until we met our murshid? Of course we have. Therefore, what is the secret of his complete dominancy? And the answer is the murshid is not an individual. They are tangible example of qualities and virtues that keep a community alive. By understanding part of a whole, he's always there and he's always ready. And he's always looking. When we are awake, the Murshid's eyes are on us. Murshid hears our every word and is the eternal witness to our nightly dreams and our dreamless sleeps. Murshid is the voiceless jury passing verdict on even the smallest gestures. This is how she described her mentor. Kenan Rifai asks, there are things that please everyone. Do you know what pleases me? My pleasure finds superbness when I don't hate or I'm now distinguished by anyone. When I meet a well-seeing eye, when I accept everything with tranquility, and when I do not give any value to anything more than their worth. According to Mother Samiha and Neziha Araz, in order to offer the education and training which Kenan Rifai first wanted to deliver to the masses, he accepted to establish peace in people within themselves and then establish the harmony and justice in their relationships with society. From an end to Suleiman, he loved and respected every creature. In that respect, he saw and showed that plurality is a curtain and oneness, unity, is the origin. Incidentally, first, what would be more appropriate than having an agreement for people within themselves and then directing them to become friends and fellows with all of creation, since the beginning of every controversy is duality and separation. He would see the spiritual and material as the two faces of the same sword, and thus in an indivisible togetherness. For this reason, he would work hard in order to make the person he had enriched in the circle of his training become a good person of community and a successful value on a global level. This savant who addressed all kinds of spiritual illnesses through his knowledge and limitless understanding would first consider with astute discernment of all possibilities of feelings and willpower the sum of all material and spiritual factors. And upon reaching a conclusion, he would immediately apply the first salve, put on the first plaster upon the features he has determined needed to be eliminated. And he certainly tries to make up for the person, and he would put together all the cracks and protect the personality from fading away. It is possible to try to explain that because he could see and observe the sickness of every person in his existence and thus find a way to cure this illness through his own experiences and classifications. If this were to be explained with a statement of old, it would be called training of the nafs. We call it the reconstruction of the personality from the very beginning. Kenan Rifai says, many teachers would train their students through effort, discipline, and various ordeals. As for me, I underwent their ordeals myself. His students relate, the matter at hand was the suitability and harmony between what a person said and did. He had attained the ease and skill of applying his goal by his daily life, and he wanted to see the ones he raised in this way as well. For example, he would direct someone's thought to an orderly direction and would thus help them attain an orderly life. At the same time, he would try to make them gain the habit of keeping their rooms and even their clothes orderly as well. Or he would say, clean your houses, but also clean your interiors, and go to your appointments on time, because this is a small but important indicator of keeping the pre-eternal promise. Thus saying, he would try to bring his wisdom and observations to our lives. The fundamental principle he paid the most attention to in training was to keep in mind the conditions in which people were and the differences of temperament and the environment, and to move without disturbing personal taste and capabilities and without pressuring anyone's personal characteristics. For this reason, he would not compel proclivities and desires into directions opposite to what they were, and never chose a system of suppression and violence. As an ideal teacher, in essence, he never thought of putting anyone into his point of view with beyond intellectual, and he said, we are ordered to think positively about people. He would enjoy positive interpretations. When someone thinks negatively about us, this hurts me before anyone else. Everyone is the architect of their own building. The joy, pain, good, bad, heaven and hell that people find are all due to their well or poorly constructed buildings. The conclusion we reach is solely our responsibility, not anybody else's. If we have made our bodies buildings with rotten materials and mischiefs, one day it will collapse onto itself. His system of education and training was never one-sided. He would teach while learning and learn while teaching. As a giving teacher, he never put himself in a role where he was always active and those in front of him were the receivers in a passive and unchanging plan. The give and take between the teacher and the student must always be mutual and occur in equal conditions. He was always pleased with the tiring questions coming from those around him. He never said a word to be assertive or insistent, and when he believed that his words truly carried value, he had readily taken the chance to speak of and explain it. If reality was already obvious in an argument, but he was someone stubborn and insistent, he would forego the argument with a sweet excuse. He would always regard others' thoughts with importance and would accept the criticisms of his youngest and most inexperienced students with a soft understanding, and said, "I have no greater joy than to be defeated by the truth." Dogmatic faith was not acceptable in his view. He would continually and happily repeat Hazrat Ali's words, "I will not worship a God I cannot see." One of the features we must pay attention, as Samiha Ayverden Neziha Ara states, Kenan Rifai made use of the elements of religion and faith, especially in the work of Irshad that he had accepted throughout his life, because for him, the truly faithful man was the most trustworthy element of social harmony and the sturdiest safety valve. Since humanity has no limits, sex or nationalities, the only face that we can rely on under the sky is the face of truly and sincerely faithful. For this reason, Kenan Rifai always saw religion in an influential position in the formation and development of humans' conscience and the treatment of humans' dispositions. This great human eased every inconvenience and problem of his drama of life with a smile. He embraced those who were lost in pessimism and hopelessness and who were mixed up due to doubt and presumptions with a soft and warm faith and brought them to themselves. But his constructive and creative intellect never incubated over religious theories that had been ossified due to political, social, and geographic reasons and assassinations of fundamentalism. On the contrary, he had broken the shell and brought forward the jewel into light. Kenan Rifai is a person who saw and showed the matter of religion and faith within the purity, simplicity, and dynamism of tasawwuf. The religion he believed in was like the armies that carried the light of unity to India and China on one arm, and to Iran on another, and to Andalus on yet another arm. It was like a force that brought a just and equalizing social order to places who were oppressed, and when it went on spiritual conquest, it was one that would go through without affecting local and traditional ways of living, without oppressing anyone, and without interfering in the various individual tastes and features. As an educator, Kenan Rifai saw that a mess that has been severed from its past is not an appropriate basis for the realities of humanity to find form and develop. A community that severs its ties with its past and is robbed of this past might be going towards an advanced technique, but probably towards barbarity. He saw that the life of community who denied their past was short, and every step forward can be made with stepping on what we lived in the past. According to him, every new and forward step can be taken based on the past. The mistaken perception that he was ill with the idea of returning to past should not be thought. For his nature and his personality, the conditions of maturity did not allow for this. What he wanted us to take every step with the help of the values that had been clarified throughout the centuries, and to advance while benefiting from the experiences of a life that had accounted for every moment. He used every method of training in an order, using the opportunities, giving advice, art events. He says, I wrote, drew, grew, gave classes, opened a lodge, told with instruments, told with words. I told stories, I played games. I kept repeating the same thing. I wanted the same thing. One day, a Greek pharmacist we came across kissed his hand with great excitement and fondness, saying, "My teacher, do you not recognize me? You saved my future." He was the only Turkish teacher to object to the Court of Honor's decisions to expel the student at the Fenerum High School. Despite the other Greek teachers, he had said, "I will be involved with him in whatever is necessary. Forgive him this time. I will be responsible for his later misdeeds." The Court of Honor accepted this offer and left the student to him, and the pharmacist he saw in front of him was this very child. Is it proper to waste? Loving is knowing, and people would know and see in line with their capacity. Loving is infinitely loving, and the truth that he wanted to light in people was this: when and he used love as the most fundamental method. I might be exploiting my time. Ibn Arabi says, the one who believes with the belief of every believer possesses universal faith. Kenan Rifai writes the following in a letter: unlike a spring that flows into its own, whoever wants can satisfy their thirst from me. It is not my responsibility if one comes with a small bucket, another with a big barrel, or a third with a cup. I fill up whatever container is handed to me, but everyone receives the amount that their container allows. I'm not coy in giving to anyone, and I do not distinguish one from another. And Samiha Ayverdi, in the preface of his book, the humanity, Ikhlas and Iman, the heaven of these is what he was inviting people to. On every page there are wisdoms, and it is an endless treasure, and it's in interpretation of Quran, and we have a lot to learn from him. In this world, he has lived the cases of the case, and both internally and externally, and he let them experience an endless mercy. He teaches by saying and living this great and true friend, and he gives examples from within the life, and he continues teaching and training. It is the truth. It is the truth that in every age, all kinds of state systems have been afraid of a sincere mutasawwif. Even a theocratic administration, which at face value should be most tolerant towards religion, feels a deep fear and timidity towards the mutasawwif, who has understood deeply the fundamentals of religion. For this reason, it would want to raise a self-interested fanatical class anchored in the dogmatism of the madrasa, so that the knowledgeable religious men who are willing to risk their lives do not multiply and hinder the interest of those who make an issue of them. For both his trainings and teachings, he always called people to think, not to believe first. And he lets the thinker decide. He never overwhelms the personalities, and he reconstructs the personalities, and he planted the seeds of this bountiful future. And I respect, and for witnessing this, I thank Allah for eternally, and for the infinite love, protection, and mercy. I salute you all. Thank you very much.